Alright, hey guys, so it's been a while since I've made a new video. Over the holidays, I was visiting my fiance in Canada, and I didn't have a whole lot of time to go over the Steam event, or the Steam Awards, whatever it was called. But I did do a little bit of leveling, and I got to level 480. Kind of wanted to get to 500, but it's just so expensive at this level. But today I wanted to go over the new Humble Monthly, or Humble Choice, and go over all of the games that are included. There are 12 games for this month, and a lot of them are actually pretty appealing. And just to begin, if you guys do want to help support me in this channel, if you are planning on subscribing to the Humble Choice, be sure to use my referral link in the description below. There's 3 tiers. There's the light tier, $5 a month, but you don't really get anything. Don't know why you'd want the light tier. Then there's the basic plan where you get 3 games. So you can choose any 3 games here for $15. And then there's the premium plan for $20. You can pick 9 of the games listed here. Also just wanted to point out, for classic subscribers, you're supposed to get 10 games, but as you can see here, there's 12 games. So you actually have to choose 10 out of the 12 games listed here, which I don't really like too much. I feel like as a classic member, you should be able to get all of the games, but oh well, you can skip out on 2 of them. Let's go ahead and go over each game individually. Starting off, we have Middle-earth: Shadow of War. This is the sequel to Shadow of Mordor. It's an open world action adventure game set in the Lord of the Rings universe. The combat system is fantastic, and it has some very unique mechanics like the Nemesis system, and they definitely made some improvements on the previous game. It'll definitely draw you in and it'll keep you playing. I definitely recommend picking up Shadow of War. That's certainly a big game there. Next we have Graveyard Keeper. This is a sandbox RPG where you basically build and manage a little medieval graveyard while crafting and interacting with the townspeople and participating in various amusing little events that are quite humorous. It's a bit like Stardew Valley, although it's a little bit harder to get into, but if you like games of this style, I definitely recommend Graveyard Keeper. Next we have 2 Point Hospital, which came out fairly recently. This is another management game where you are in charge of building and running a hospital. It's a very addictive game with multiple scenarios and plenty of fun to be had, and it seems like the developers continue to add new content and new DLC as well, so it's certainly recommended, especially if you like theme park style games or basically just management games in general. And then we have another really big game here, Dirt Rally 2.0. This is the sequel to, of course, Dirt Rally. It's a very realistic rally car racing game that has likely the best off-road racing mechanics out of any racing game out there. It's incredibly challenging but extremely fun once you get into it, and once you see yourself start to improve with each track, it really becomes addictive. It's still a $60 game currently, so it's great to see this included in the Humble Choice, and I would highly recommend Dirt Rally, especially if you are a racing fan or if you just happen to have a steering wheel lying around. So we have Street Fighter V, which is also great to see in this bundle. It's of course a fighting game. If you are a fan of previous Street Fighter installments, you'll likely enjoy Street Fighter V. Although for newcomers coming into the series, the game is certainly difficult to learn at first. The combos and the input commands are very precise, so it does take a considerable amount of time to get good enough to play competitively, but it's a great game to play casually with friends, and it's a great fighter overall. Next we have a great indie game called Bad North. This is a roguelike strategy game which has some very high reviews on Steam. You essentially defend your island against invading Vikings while making use of the terrain to position your people into strategic points to fend off the invaders. It's very amusing and it's quite fun, especially if you're into strategy games, so I would definitely recommend Bad North. And then there's a fun game called Trailmakers. This is a unique free-for-all style sandbox racing game where you build all sorts of unique vehicles with an intuitive Lego-like building system, and you just have a lot of fun online playing with friends and just showing off each other's creations. It's very enjoyable, especially if you like building stuff, if you like Legos in general, or like just building various planes, vehicles, ships, and so forth. I definitely recommend Trailmaker. This is a game called Unrailed. This is a co-op action game that has had a lot of support since it released in early access in September. You and a group of friends work against the clock building a railway across an endless procedural world. It's deceivingly fun and it's a joy to play with others. So if you have some friends that can get together and play this, I'm sure you'll have a great time. This is definitely a highly recommendable game. This is a game called Whispers of Machine. This is a sci-fi point and click detective adventure game. I'm not a big fan of point and clicks, but if you like classic story driven games, you're sure to have a good time with this. It has very high reviews on Steam, so I'm sure there's some fun to be had, but personally I'm just not a big fan of point and clicks, as I really prefer games with more gameplay. But if you like more story driven games, I would recommend Whispers of Machine. And then there's Them's Fightin' Herds. This is a fighting game with ponies. Yep, with ponies. Very similar to the My Little Pony style, except you're beating the crap out of each other. While it may look like a fan service to bronies, it's actually pretty fun. There's plenty of ridiculous combos that keep you playing and keep you invested, and it's fun to just play every now and then, especially with friends. Next is a game called Mages of Mistralia. I've actually never heard of this one until it popped up in this bundle. This is an indie fantasy adventure game. It looks incredibly charming with a delightful like top-down magical combat system alongside some interesting puzzles. I really like charming like indie games of this style, so I'll definitely hop into this one. And finally we have Grip Combat Racing. This is a high-speed racing game. The main mechanic in this game is gripping to the track, allowing you to drive upside down or around tubes. If you fall, it's fine, as the cars are designed to flip back over while still maintaining a high speed. It has a bunch of fun tracks, and it's definitely a great racing game overall, especially if you enjoy more like arcade racing style games. So that's everything for this month's Humble Choice. If you were to ask me what I would suggest, I think the most valuable games, at least in my opinion, are Shadow of War and Dirt Rally 2.0. Although again, I think each game deserves its own spotlight and they each have something to add for sure. It really depends on your preferences in terms of what game genres you like, and there's definitely a good variety here. And I think that's what they're going for the Humble Choice, just giving you sort of a choice of which games suit your playstyle more, and you can just leave the rest behind, because I know a lot of people who subscribe to the Humble Monthly really didn't care about most of the games, so this gives you the option of choosing which games you like over others. Just to wrap things up, if you are planning on picking up the Humble Choice, be sure to use my referral link in the description below. I really appreciate anyone who decides to do so and supports this channel. I do want to just quickly mention that the Humble Choice does have some other perks as well. The basic plan, you get 10% off the Humble Store, 20% off if you are on the premium plan, and the Humble Store pretty much has almost every game that you can find on Steam. You also get access to the Humble Trove, which I don't think very many people use, but it's a collection of DRM free games, and if you go over to the Trove, you can see that there's 90 plus games here, and there's new games every month. You can actually see quite a few popular games, a lot of indie games, a lot of games that you'd probably heard of before. But if you subscribe to the Humble Choice, you can download all 90 plus of these games for free, and you can keep them forever. You just download them on your computer, you can copy them, you can do whatever you want with them because they don't have any DRM on them. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.